Right. What we are going to look at today is the document object model, and the reason why we need to understand the document object model is so that we can use JavaScript to change whatever we want within a web page. And that is where the true dynamic capability, or when we say dynamic web pages, creating dynamic web pages comes from. So once you understand the document object model, you will not only be able to access information from different parts of the web page, you will also be able to change it, because you can use JavaScript codes to write HTML text and to change HTML text, to input boxes and do whatever. It is just like JavaScript doing the work of a web author or web designer. So that's where the powerful feature of JavaScript, when combined with document object model, comes from, and that's how it gives us so much power to be able to manipulate web pages. It's just like writing codes that are going to do the work of what you guys are doing, building web pages. So the codes themselves start building web pages, changing web pages, and making the web page look like the way the user wants based on the user's input. So before we go there, any questions from the last lecture? How are we doing with JavaScript?
You'll know soon enough when we read first tests.
Now, apart from the quiz that you've just done, how are we doing? Have you been able to grasp the concept? Yep.
So JavaScript is only for, so you want a shopping cart and you want to list all those items like if you put
Yep.
in that.
Apart from that,
So what it does is it stops the web page from, or the user from having to go to the server to update and refresh all the time. That happens in the web page itself.
yep.
That's all that JavaScript.
Yes, but apart from that, you will see, even when we look at the document object model, or just I have mentioned, that only with the use of JavaScript code, you can write JavaScripts that start building web pages based on what the user wants. I mean, have you been to websites where you have done certain selections and then the website has produced whatever you had selected?
Yeah.
Examples like that. So that is all through JavaScript. What happens is JavaScript takes the codes within that web page, JavaScripts within that web page, takes information from the user, and then based on that information from the user, inserts HTML text and HTML elements, specifies its attributes, and then produces the resulting web page. Now, this week during Friday's tutorial session, we don't have any presentations. So if you want me to go through any JavaScript codes or any JavaScript tutorials, we can do that over there. But the way this course is going, we are building on top of each other. So we started with HTML, and we understood that HTML is for writing web pages. So HTML text, when rendered by the browsers, produce pages as we see when we visit different websites. Then, following that, we looked at CSS. So HTML is about the web page. CSS formats the web page, right? Then we looked at JavaScript. JavaScript enables us to do a lot of things. Shopping cart is one good example. Accessing information from different parts of the table and calculating them. And then this week we are going to look at document object model that builds on JavaScript. So JavaScript will access. So once you understand the document object model, you will be able to write scripts that is going to change web pages the way you as the web author wants it, or the way the user wants it, based on the user's input. So we can do a quick review of that in today's tutorial. This Friday's tutorial. Is that okay? Any other question in regards to JavaScript? You will have to do the tutorials. You will have to read through those tutorials, copy and paste the codes into a browser. I've got a Notepad++ with me. It's on my USB. If anyone wants to take it from me and install it on their PCs, I'll also upload it onto Moodle. So all you've got to do is just open the PDF tutorials, copy the codes, paste it, and let the browser render it, and you can see the differences. And then what you do is make the changes to allow the codes to do something else. So that's about the last tutorial. Presentations are done. Most of you did very well. Out of 20%, I don't think anyone will get less than 19%. Okay, so the fun part is over. No more dances, no more music, right? It's getting to serious stuff now. Okay, talking about dynamic HTML, dynamic web pages, how we can combine JavaScript to change the HTML text that we are writing. Initially as web designers, as web page authors, we write HTML text, header text, formatting text, font text, all that to create a web page. But now, with the use of JavaScript, we have got the power to access different parts of the web page, and based on our requirements, or based on a user's response, or based on whatever the user is doing, we can produce different web pages, because we will have so many different users visiting our web pages, and we cannot style our website for each different user until and unless they visit our website, and then they decide that they choose this, they choose that. For example, when they are filling a registration form, if the user chooses that, for example, this registration form is to enroll students within the Bay of Plenty Polytechnic, if the user does not select, within the Bay of Plenty, if the user does not select his or her region as Bay of Plenty, and the user selects something else, then other input boxes should be there to allow the user to specify which region the user is from, which city the user is from. So as stated there, our JavaScript code needs to be able to interact with components of the page, different components of the page. To write that code, we need a well-defined programming interface, and JavaScript provides that programming interface to access different components from the web page. In addition to that, read the properties that is already there, write it, change it, modify it, as well as use their methods and functions. Looking at the document object model, the document object model is simply a model on which the web page is based. So before I talk more on that, what I'm going to do is show you a simple web page. For example, over there that you see on the projector screen, if we look at the model, what we can see is the model is simply based on your HTML text. So if you look at this set of code there, what we can say is the model is HTML, starts with that. So what you do is, this is the key concept to grasp. How are we doing with time?
I've recorded 10.5 minutes so far.
Stop it there.
Alright.